On this episode of Real Estate Insiders Unfiltered, we have a special edition where Keith and I sat down with Rob Hahn and Greg Robertson from the Industry Relations Podcast to do a live pod from Inman talking about all of the content, controversy, and things happening in the industry. It is one hell of a juicy conversation. You are going to want to check it out. Put it in your ears. You talk about it privately. We talk about it publicly. This is the Real Estate Insiders Unfiltered podcast.
Before we start the podcast, we'd like to note that the views expressed by Rob Hahn are his and his alone. And we love that guy, but he's nuts. Enjoy the show.
Welcome to a special podcast of Real Estate Insiders Unfiltered and Industry Relations. Live at Inman Connect 2024 in Las Vegas.
That's right.
We, the four of us, decided to get together and see what kind of mayhem we could get.
It's not even mayhem, right? I mean, so here's the thing. We're both up for an award.
We are.
We would like to congratulate you in advance for the
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
We didn't win yet because there's absolutely no chance in hell we're going to win.
So loser buys dinner. That's what I heard. Loser buys dinner. That's what I heard.
I know this great burger joint.
You still owe me a steak from the last bet that we did
That's
like
true.
4 years ago.
That's the iBuyer one?
The iBuyer one.
No, that time hasn't elapsed yet. But
it's close.
it's cool that we get to do this collab because we very rarely, the four of us in the same place.
Yeah.
I just thought, let's take advantage and just,
Backstage.
Yeah.
backstage at Inman.
Yeah. Greg has his bag with him, so just if for any reason he makes a stage left appearance, you'll know why.
Rough night. It's a
However,
rough night.
I just want to point out Greg did not go hard on the first night. Yeah, baby.
Yeah. But
was
apparently it did go last night.
Apparently guard last night.
more of a guideline than a rule.
Fair point.
So listen, I mean, I think the three of you guys actually attend this event. I didn't.
Yeah.
I just lobby conned.
Yeah.
So I guess.
Sorry, Brad. Just FYI.
Hey, Brad. What'd you learn?
Well, I think forms and commission sharing tends to be a
Still
pretty
a hot topic.
Yeah.
It's like they're not listening to our podcast or something.
I don't get it. I mean, I'm actually thinking about creating a diagram that just shows like this. It goes, okay, seller to listing agent and listing agent to buyer agent sharing is now just the second diagram of seller to buyer agent. The end. Like, it's just, we're just removing one piece of the puzzle.
Okay, I do have a legitimate question because again, I didn't attend, so maybe some of the people brought this up. But in our podcast, one of the big things that we brought up was if you're a broker and you use a state association form, you're likely opening yourself up for a future conspiracy charge.
Correct.
Was that brought up?
Yes, it was, but it does depend on the form, right? You can't just unilaterally say if you're using, I know the whole, give them the context, right? So because competitors are getting together to create a form, that form
and
could
if
be
there's commission sharing in the form.
That form could be considered collusion, especially if there is commission sharing.
Yeah,
but if there isn't commission sharing,
then it's fine to use universal form.
It's still competitors getting together.
It is, but it's less of an issue because you don't have the conspiracy on commissions.
A non-commission, we could have conspiracy on something else.
Potentially.
sure. But I just think unilaterally saying if you use a state-provided form, you're opening yourself up. It may not be true. That's all. I
know where you're going with this. I'm going to counter for a second. I'm not sure. Most brokerages are, because of this, if they don't agree with commission sharing or creating their own forms. EXP was a great example.
Sure.
And I commend Leo and the team for doing that. The other side of that coin is having everybody use their own forms. It's going to create a mess because it's like it's a 2-page form, a 1-page form. Everyone's trying to figure out what it says in those forms.
Look, there's a decent probability that some broker left to their own devices could write a significantly worse form that could open themselves up to more liability than it. To me, the big bright line is if commission. If commission sharing is in the form, I would advise anyone who's listening to not do it, period. If it isn't, then evaluate the form and see if it functions for your business.
See, so I'll give you an example, like a guy that you guys should probably have on your show at some point, Doug Miller, who was on ours. I don't know if he published.
Lots of comments on that one. Yeah.
Lots of comments, lots of engagement. Thanks for the engagement.
He's one of the lawyers that was part of the
CARE. Was it CARE?
CARE.
Yeah.
Consumer advocates in real estate or something like that.
Yeah.
But the point I was trying to make is like
Karen, actually, but no.
The point is, it's not just commissions. One of the things he talks about, for example, is dual agency.
Sure.
Yeah.
So if you're a broker and you use a state form that allows for dual agency, I'm saying you have a chance. of getting roped in. As an example.
I don't disagree with you, but you also have a chance of writing a really crappy form.
Agreed.
So it's not like there's no risk on the other side. I'm saying, look at the state form. If it doesn't map to you and to your risk tolerance, or you don't like it, or maybe even you don't think it's consumer centric enough and it's not written in plain English so that people can actually understand it, right? Then consider writing your own.
Well,
I mean, how many form revisions do you think we're going to go between August 17th and down the year?
Somewhere between
on average
2 to 3 million. Yeah.
Well, what's interesting is I'm going a little bit further with this. I think the state of Washington has done a fantastic job on this issue. You know, you had the actual state involved in this process, where they're working with the MLS and the association to create a standard buyer rep agreement, mandated at the state level. Very clear. It's 3 pages on the buyer rep side. Like, it's, you know, Consumer Federation of America has advocated it, saying it's actually very consumer friendly. It's clear what it is. I would argue that eventually we're going to end up in a place where the states have to come in and come up with a more standardized process, because we're going to create a mess of this thing.
Of course.
Well, and let's be honest, it's going to be chaos for 6 months.
Yeah, or longer.
Yeah,
Or longer.
Right. I mean, it's going to be a mess, and you're going to have some people with no form, some people trying not to use the form. The worst offenders trying to find some stupid workarounds, right? Yeah. And then you're going to have some good forms, some states to put. It's just the forms are going to be the forms, and the process is going to work its way through the process. What I worry about actually is agents getting so hung up and brokers getting so hung up on the forms that they lose sight of actually taking care of the human being of the transaction, right?
Like, but that's the fundamental problem, though.
Yeah.
We need these damn forms because the agents don't have adequate training on fiduciary duty.
Not to mention the fact that, like, half the agents don't even know what's going on still.
Well, this is something I was talking to some just a little lobby conning is talking to a couple MLSs, and they are for sure that there's going to be a situation where an agent's at the closing table, right, and they're signing all the documents, and she or he's going to go, "Where's my check?"
Right. What check?
That's all right.
I mean, that is going to happen.
Yeah.
Think
So
about that.
that
Think
reminds.
about that.
Yeah. It's here's pain is a very efficient teacher.
No, totally. Yeah.
So as soon as that story runs rampant around town, all of a sudden everybody's going to care about the form and learning how to talk about it and how to get better at it.
The headlines shortly here is all of the fines for trying to put stuff in MLSs that you're not supposed to do. So just imagine a world, which we're coming to in about 2 weeks. It's going to be all over the headlines, where agents don't know about these new processes because their broker, or whatever the reason is, they're not aware of it. And then $2,500 fines, $5,000 fines for putting compensation or a commission or putting in the remarks. And some of the MLS policies that are out there are strict. There's no like grace period. It's just boom, hit with a fine, because the MLSs are trying to protect themselves from further litigation as well. They're obviously covered under the release. They don't want to deal with it. So imagine all of a sudden the amount of pain the brokers are going to deal with when agents are getting these fines. They have a certain amount of time to pay it. They can't afford it. They get their account shut off. The brokers are dealing with this as well. I mean, it's going to be, I hate to say it, it's going to be a mess for a while.
Well, and it's not even done yet. I mean, there's still MLSs that have not agreed to the settlement. They're going to go through the process with, legally and otherwise. And that's going to be its own kind of, circus.
Not only is it not even done, it basically has barely even started, right? Somebody asked me, I think it was 2 nights ago, they said, like, using a baseball analogy, what inning are we in all of this? I was like, we just invented baseball. that was my answer, because we haven't even started yet.
I don't know, man. I think we're like in the 7th inning.
No way.
I think in like 18 months from now, this is a non-factor.
No, sure. Okay, fine. Yeah, I do agree with that time frame.
I think it's a non-factor. I think it's a lot more clarity.
We have standard operating procedures, and everyone sort of knows what to do. And
I guess, but like these MLSs overreach, like you guys talking about, strict fines. It's like, that's like, fine, do that if you want. I just don't think it's necessary, because again, if you look at what the MLS got sued for and specifics around this case, and I feel like everyone's just sort of seems to forget this. The whole issue was always and is steering, right? So in other words, the problem with the MLS was they had a compensation field that people could search them out. That was the original form of this. Remember in Las Vegas? This DOJ came and was like, it seems like you're allowing agents to search by commission and filter by, so in other words, it was always steering.
You know, the DOJ 20 years ago wanted that in the MLS.
Of course. Look,
Okay, just to be clear, like, let's go back a little bit in time.
You're talking to anarcho-capitalists over here.
I'm aware of it.
I'm down with that.
Just saying, like,
The ultimate free market, Rob Hahn.
Like, I'm cool with saying
the irony of this whole thing is part of NAR's original settlement with the DOJ was they wanted the buyer-broker commission to be displayed on the MLS. Then they're using the same concept on, well, now it's steer. It's like, make up your frickin' mind.
Yeah.
Like, what is it that you want? You know?
Well, we know what they want. What they want, they've told us what they want. They want it put
Today,
in the offer.
they've told us what they want.
No, they told us in MLS pin, like, just put in the offer.
Yeah.
So my point is, if the MLS doesn't strictly police some idiot agent putting the agent remarks, because again, the compensation field is gone. Right? So that idiot agent's going to go, okay, let me put in my compensation. Like, where's the field? And then they're still stupid. They don't go, hey, broker, so what happens to the compensation field? So they don't do that. They just go, oh, screw it. I'll just put the agent remarks. Offering 3% compensation, okay? I don't think the MLS is in trouble. That's what I'm getting at. I don't see grounds for some lawyer suing the MLS for that. That's just my opinion. Please ask your attorney. I'm not your lawyer. I'm just saying, like,
Rob,
if the MLS is doing with the spirit, like what the DOJ, what everybody wants, which is put in the offer, eliminate steering.
You're probably right,
think
but you can't start this conversation with, we better be careful or we're going to get sued again. And then a little later in the conversation, don't over-regulate because you're not going to get sued again.
What are you talking about?
I mean, MLSs are afraid, right? Fear makes you...
I'm saying, like, I get it, man. I just think they're overreacting by a lot.
Well, do you guys know if anything where, you know, with the settlement, what if we go through this and, like, you know, Rob always like to talk about second order consequences. Something happens that, you know, we really...
Unintended.
Unintended, whatever.
Of course.
You know, I was talking about this at dinner last night with an MLS executive. It's like, what is the way that we can go back and say, you know what, this is really screwing things up. I mean, and I can imagine that the attorneys don't give a crap, right? I mean, they have no motivation. But how in these types of situations would somebody be able to go back and, like, get something taken out? I mean, I'm thinking, like, touring agreement is one big thing. But I mean, even some other things that happen where, you know, this isn't quite working out the way that it did.
Like
right?
my reference to the DOJ wanting one thing 20 years ago, and now we're getting sued for it on the other side.
But it's like, but the settlement is one thing, because the settlement is 7 years, right? From what I remember, right?
Yeah.
So what is is there a process for that? I mean, what happens
we get sued again.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to tell the poison from the cure, man.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it just doesn't, we don't know.
I probably have too much faith in and I mean the good creative, not the bad creative, but in the creative juices of the residential real estate industry. Look, the rules come down. They find a functional way to serve their clients. Were there people that were doing things that they shouldn't have? Of course. Do I think there's some vast majority of residential real estate agents that were searching by commission and that's all they were showing? No. Right? So the rules come down. How are we going to do, you know, what about open house? What about someone who just drove by and said they want to see how? We're going to figure out a way to work within the confines of this new structure and still serve the client.
To me, again, I always say this to Rob, I always think of things in the terms of, like, software, right? Because all I've done is software, right? And defaults matter. The default settings you have in there matter. And it seems like we're resetting and we're putting in different defaults now for this, right? Yeah. And that is going to mean something, I think, that we don't even, I don't think we can imagine what that
We
is.
can go there. The four of us are pretty effing smart. So, okay, we know what kind of the default is, and I think it's what you've been advocating for a real long time, which is stop sharing commission, put it in the offer. Boom. Okay. What are the unforeseen negative consequences of that system, do you think?
I mean,
there's some water.
There's been questions on fair housing violations, concerns that a seller might want to steer basically pick a certain offer that comes through based upon, you know,
race, gender, or whatever.
There's concerns about that.
They could do that today, can't they?
Well, yeah. It may just be that there's an extra mechanism for it.
To me, it's another affordability headwind for the first-time home buyer. That's the real crux of the issue for me, because homeownership has been proven that it's a massive wealth creation machine for homeowners, and you just made it harder for the first-time home buyer, right? In a more competitive environment where now there is going to be an increase, how much we will see in the buyer having to pay their own commission or trying to figure that piece out. anything that makes it harder for the first-time home buyer is a consequence that I'm not a fan of, right? That is bad.
Okay.
That is not good. And I don't see a solution for that.
Yet. I think
sure.
there will be, but there's not one right now.
Yep.
I mean, I've been having these conversations with, even NAR about, let's figure out a way, if you can't finance it, if Fannie and Freddie won't be able to do this. And we did a show with Shannon McGann, who is great. Shout out to Shannon and her team. I know they do a lot of really great work for advocacy. The reality of us getting buyer agent compensation finance if the seller's not willing to pay for it is going to be not impossible, but
it'll be a process. It'll be a journey.
Very serious journey. So then Keith and I were talking about, well, does a bank step up? Is a new lending product that allows somebody to come in and say,
right.
The 100-year mortgage, right?
Yeah, I mean,
it's Keith's
I'm
idea.
just saying.
I did throw that out, by the way, at CEO Connect, and everybody stared at me.
Look, finally someone's staring at you about that instead of me.
I was like, that was Keith's idea. But I think somebody will come out and go, look, we'll lend the money.
Yeah.
It's not secured. The agent takes a haircut, so they're taking some of the risk out of it. And somebody's going to look at that and go, well, there's a big opportunity.
Right.
There's a mechanism.
Yeah, I mean, they could come up with CDOs and credit default swaps and all these financial instruments.
Point.
Come on, guys. I mean, help a brother out here with these things.
I agree.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, but I do. I mean, I don't want to go full Gordon Gekko, right? Greed, for lack of a better word, is good, right? But there is a business opportunity in that gap, right?
Sure.
And I hope that a more efficient, the mortgage industry or Fannie Freddie.
So that's not really a negative consequence.
Well, no, it is until it's solved.
Until it's there.
Yeah, but the solution is so obvious. Like, we literally stated it. It's
not like it's going to happen.
Hey, mortgage bank, like, you should probably develop a product. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
but if you need a secondary mortgage market, right?
No, what I mean is like the unsecured financing of buyer commissions. Like, that's an easy.
I don't know about
It's
easy.
but it's something somebody will come up with in a matter of
They
time.
have to.
There's a lot of money to be made. That's what's going to happen.
For the foreseeable future, I don't think there's going to be a refi market ever. Think about all the companies that would have these up and down cycles of like, we're not going to see below 5 in our lifetime.
Yes,
mortgage refi.
Yeah, mortgage
Yeah.
So they have to have some other product out there that kind of replaces what the refi was.
I mean, I want to push back on that a little. I mean,
Dude, we are not.
He's the economist of
We're not
Mudge.
We're
I
not
just want to point
going
that
to
out.
see that in our lifetimes.
Okay, but you also don't have to get below 5 in order for there to be some refinances and refinances of some significance.
Well, when we're talking about a lot of mortgages, like 40% are below, like 3 or 2.
40% are not below. It's like 22% are below 3.
Right, but I mean, okay, what
Or
about
3%
below
or
4?
below.
What about below 5, right? Or
Yeah,
below 4?
but that you
I mean,
need
it's a big number.
It is a big number, but that's not all, right? So there's also a big number of people who have bought mortgages, who have bought houses and gotten a mortgage since they've gone up. This isn't going to. There's not going to be no refinances.
I see what you're saying.
There will be less, but there's not going to be no.
From the guys that got it at 6 and it goes to 6.5 or 6.
Right, and
7 to 6.5.
there's also someone who might need to tap the equity to buy another 2 more semi trucks for a small business, and he's got a bunch of equity in his house. And
No, that's going to
right,
take off
so
for sure.
yeah, so there's the refi. This whole story about it's the end of the refi market is inaccurate. Now, will it ever go back to maybe the go refi days? No, of course not. But there will be refinances that happen.
To answer your question, though,
In fact, just to put a pin on this, yes, for the last 24 months, we have a mortgage bank that's associated with our real estate operation, and it was maybe single-digit percentage of the loan volume was refinanced.
Yeah.
Just in the last 2 months, that's gone up, to double-digit refinance.
Yeah, but that might be something else, though. So I don't know.
Here
if
we
it
go.
was
You just set them off right now.
No, it's like I can't remember who I was talking. It might have been you, but people are saying more and more people are doing refis to like pay for groceries.
That wasn't me.
Okay, so somebody's like, we don't have the stats for it yet, but there is something to be said. Like, American consumers are such stress right now that a lot of them are tapping the equity in their homes just to get through.
I think there's some percentage of people that are struggling.
Right. So if it's like from single digit to like.
Not here.
I don't know about pay for groceries.
It's packed out there.
Some people are doing cash out refinances because they feel cash strapped. I totally agree with that. You have savings at a very low rate, which it historically always is. Definitely down from the peak when the stimmy checks were flowing free and fun.
People are burning through.
Credit card debt is at an all-time high, and next to that, you have real estate equity, though, is also at an all-time high. So it makes sense that some people are tapping that to clean up some of that stuff.
So that could be part of. Oh, I don't know. Obviously, I'm not in the.
Sure.
Well, let's put a pin in this last
but anyway,
question because I want to cover a few more things. I think that the reality, and I think Ed Zorn did a great job of explaining this, who's been a huge advocate for concessions in the MLS. Sure. You know, he was on stage and we had this discussion. We ended it with.
When is Ed Zorn not on stage?
I know. He's really, but he does a great job, by the way. So props to him.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, he did basically say this.
That sounded like you guys can't get him on your pod or something. That had some energy behind it. If you need a little help getting that on your pod, we'll work that out.
No, of course.
I know. I'm just kidding.
I give him a hard time because he is, right?
He is.
But he's like, he sees what it's supposed to do. Even he said at the end of the presentation we did yesterday that he goes, the reality is at the end of the day, even concessions won't be needed.
I think
because it's just going to go very simply to this. Seller is willing to entertain any and all requests. Yeah. Put it in your offer, and the buyer's agent needs to just put the requests in the offer, and we just negotiate. Like when you buy a car or something on anywhere you go, it's the seller's advertising a price, and you negotiate and buy a product. And I think that's where we end up. There will probably be some unintended consequences in that process, but there's unintended consequences we have now in the current process. There's always going to be.
So that's what I'm curious about. What's the unintended negative?
I don't know. We've got enough conspiracies going on. Maybe we'll leave it.
I got one.
That.
Oh, a shocker. Go ahead. Lay it on us.
I think there's a chance we could see bad behavior on the part of the listing agents.
What does that mean?
Using this now as leverage to do shit they shouldn't be doing. For example, I get an offer. Before I present it to the client, before anything else, like, hey, so I see you want to get paid on this offer. You're going to need to come up another 20 grand. Or you're going to need to kick back some to me. Or, you know what I mean? Like, because a listing agent then has a lot of leverage in that scenario.
The
listing agent.
You think the listing agent can ask for a kickback?
Well, that's like the worst criminal situation, but it could be everything needs to come up 25 grand.
I think I would go the other way.
Well, I guess, and I can't believe I'm going to lightweight agree with Rob because.
Oh my Lord!
Yeah, I know. Well,
call the cops. Holy shit!
It's a gateway drug.
It's been a long week. I'm a little tired. My resistance is low.
Lighting effect.
Yes. It would be obviously not good, a problem. And if I find out that anyone did it, I want to fight him in the street. Okay. But right. Could I hear an agent saying, and they would even well-intended, but making a mistake, saying, well, my seller said they didn't want to pay any commission. So I think you might have to step this up a little bit to get them to be interested in it. Is that a phrase I could hear an agent saying, well-intended, but wrong, dead wrong? Sure, I can hear that sentence coming out of an agent's mouth on a telephone.
It's human nature, right? I mean, like a lot of agents are really great.
But don't do it.
Yeah, don't do it.
Don't do it.
No, like a lot of agents are really great people. Like I some of the best people I've ever met.
Yeah.
I don't know most. I haven't met most agents, but
come into this.
Most that I've met.
Most that I have met.
Yeah.
Most that I've met have been really great people.
Yeah.
At the same time, it isn't as if there aren't scumbags in the industry. With 1.5 million realtors.
Yeah, but you're never gonna write.
I'm not saying. All I was trying to get at was with the new system under the Dwiggins model.
Yes.
Oh, do not. No.
Should we call it the Dwiggy model?
No.
Dwiggy? Yeah.
No.
Under the Dwiggy
No.
model.
Mike Dopretti got iBind. That's different. No.
But I think that
It's just
if you pull on the thread, just think of negative consequences, right? And like, you know, I might, as they say, I'm a hammer and everything looks like a nail. But think about like CMAs, all right?
Sure.
You don't know what the value of these things are, especially now that they're taking out the concessions
out of the MLS is a huge problem.
It's like going to be in some text field somewhere, not even a field, right? So like, what actually did the house sell for, right? Because if it says $1 million,
and you don't know if there was any compensation in that number, by the way,
and that makes
significantly
what was really the net of that offer, and it's going to be so difficult to find out in the interest of not putting it in the MLS.
Yes, CMAs
settlement or whatever. Even if it's on the post-closing, right? Even if it's after they put some stuff in there, they haven't really captured in a way.
No,
they've been trying to. I mean,
and MLS tried to do that, by the way. Yeah.
And I don't know how are you going to really get a true value of what actually was paid?
Well, yeah, I mean, CMA is one thing, right? But the market will dictate. Yeah, but appraisal is a bigger one.
Yeah,
right?
Problem.
I mean, that's a really
example of government not understanding how stuff operates.
Is that like an opportunity for? I mean, it's going to be captured somewhere. I mean, I don't want to say these two letters, but I mean, it's like an AI kind of thing.
Oh, here we go. Mark the time.
I know.
We made it 14 minutes and 30 seconds.
To draw that out, and I think there's a product there, or some sort of process on a post thing, right?
Do you need it? I mean,
look, here's what's really good. Look, here's what's really good.
Hold on.
These numbers can be kind of significant.
I'm just saying. No, you're right. Of course it is. And there's already been appraisers talking about why are the MLS removing compensation from historical.
Right.
Like, there's no
need.
Antitrust. Like, why are you doing that? That's just stupid. But at the same time, the reason why the industry got sued was because compensation was like completely the same 99.7% of the time, right? So in other words, like if you knew that it was 2.644% in the Seattle area back in 2019, just take that off. You know what I mean?
You think that there's going to be, over time, there's going to be a mean that
No, what I mean is there has been historically under the compensation system, the co-op compensation was uniform. So it's not like the appraisers have to go through some rigmarole. It's like, was this one 1%? Was this
They're going to go through a little.
2.5.
there's going to be
all of those 2.5.
a time period, I think.
Yes, that's an unintended consequence, but there is a solution that is easier to solve than my first-time homebuyer affordability solution.
That's a
right.
much harder one.
But the solution is when you're comping something out, there's 3 good comps, right? Yeah. And so you call those 3 good comps, and you ask the agent what the structure was, and then you adjust based off of that information, right? Like,
If you can get a hold of them. Yeah.
Correct, right?
I mean, Michael Preddy's data yesterday wasn't very positive about.
No, but look,
response times were really bad.
Well, agents' response time to online leads are really bad, right?
Yeah.
True. That's not even news, right?
No.
Thanks for the slide, Mike, but we all know.
We've
right?
known that for 20 years, Mike. Yeah.
But agents do have this sort of, which is maybe why we got in some trouble or whatever, but when it's time to cooperate to help each other facilitate a transaction, they are good at that, right? They do that all day, every day. So if an agent calls another agent because they're trying to do a CMA, that will be called back probably faster than, I believe, faster than an online lead.
The other one that's going to be an issue to add on to this is, I had somebody bring this up, is, if the buyer's agent doesn't know what is being offered and they're getting a percentage of, or whatever their compensation is of, from the buyer is their fee, and they're writing above asking to try and guess on what it's going to take to get into the property, that buyers could claim that I overpaid, which obviously in a free market that could be stated on anything, but the buyer's agent could get looped into this, like, well, we paid X over and we didn't need to because we didn't realize that, and you benefited from that by overpaying by that amount of money. Again, free market, that already happens anyway. Like, you don't know what the product's worth, and Walmart could sell the same product for less, but I think those are some of those pieces that will happen, and it's just going to have to figure itself out. The best way forward is just simply make your request, and the seller and the seller's agent figure out a response. Maybe they counter all of them. I mean, by the way, that's what happened in 2021. Like, when you had 10 offers coming through, like, the seller's agent's job is to try and get as much money as possible for the house. Yeah. That's literally their job. So I think it's going to be an easier system. It's not as complex. I think a big question, is in this new realm, and I'll kind of pivot this because it was a big topic, is, Andy Florence was on stage, definitely refining his presentation a little bit on what Homes.com is doing. Very clear delineation, very clear the Wall Street panel that was on stage, very clear they think Homes.com is a winner in this, and that the others are going to do fine, but the buyer model of compensation has to switch to the more sell side.
Sure. Yeah.
My opinion is jury's still out on whether that makes any sense, because what Homes.com is doing, respectfully, isn't any different than what Showcase Listing was for Realtor.com, and it wasn't any different than what Trulia did, and those things didn't work because agents didn't spend the money. I don't know if that's going to be different this time.
Yeah, how much of it is just early stage portal versus late stage portal?
Yeah, the thing here, and just to put a callback, is that, they did start with those models, right? And the other model was, in the beginning, let any agent buy these leads, right? What they discovered, agent responsiveness.
Yeah.
And what that did is made the Realtor, the Zillow brand go in the toilet. So now they curate all that stuff, right? Homes.com, there's no, again, you're listing your lead. There's no curation. There's no things like that. They're going to find out pretty soon. I think they're already finding out, because I think Andy did mention something, or somebody asked a question about the CEO Connect.
Yeah.
That could end up hurting themselves.
Yeah.
The brand of Homes.com, because the agents are not really responding.
Which is really sad in general, by the way. What we're basically saying is listing agents aren't doing their job.
They haven't, it's interesting. I haven't heard you put this way, but it is an early stage kind of thing. Like they're going in, they think some of these things are fresh or not, and they're going to have to relearn the lessons. I think that Zillow and Realtor are.
Well, and look, if I'm not saying they will or they won't. Maybe they will crack the code on some different way to do it. He seems very smart.
He's very smart.
The pockets are deep enough that they can afford to learn, and maybe they will crack the code. But that is how they all started, right? They did all start there.
The one thing to add that is different this time is, if you think 10, 15 years ago when these portals first started out, agents weren't using CRMs the way they are today. They didn't have mechanisms in these big mega teams and processes and ISAs to follow up with that. So it could work this time. I think it still won't work for the solo agent that does 4 or 5 listings a year. But the big mega teams who have entire infrastructure set up.
Well, that's what Zillow pivoted to, the super agents. The super
and so it could potentially
they have
be
different.
because they have a mechanism for following up with those leads and incubating those leads, et cetera. So it's a little bit different.
Yeah, but you're listing your lead really, that is a solo agent messaging kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be, he is very smart. I was really impressed at the Connect with Andy he went through the whole thing about Home Store.
Yeah.
He knew Stuart. Brad had to stop him, but I was like, this guy knows his shit.
Yeah.
Andy is incredibly, he is a very smart, calculated man, and his team around him, I've gotten to know him a little bit just from some time together, and his team is very intelligent. He has an entourage that knows how to look this stuff up, which is great because he's educating himself on stuff. And he was talking about Stuart Wolf. I was like, okay, you had to go back in the archives to know who even Stuart Wolf is.
It's the guy running a company like he does. He knows that kind of little
that level of nuance.
He's running in the hallways, by the way. So, and that's another comment I wanted to make is, what I respect about Andy is he's a very significant player, a very wealthy man who's had very successful businesses. He is running around the hallways the past 2 days.
Shaking hands, kissing babies.
Hands, and I respect that. Damien, also the same thing with Realtor.com. He's running around saying hi to people, and I think that's an interesting perspective. You don't see that quite as much with the upper echelon of Zillow leadership now. Not a dig, just for perspective. Granted, they're new, they're trying to create those relationships, but it's going to be an interesting thing to watch these 3 portals compete for space, and Andy has got deep pockets.
Yeah. And I think the real estate agent will benefit from the competition.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Right? Like that.
I can't help but feel like it's too late. And here's what I mean. So, and I hate that, how much time has passed? I'm going to bring the 2 letters in.
Oh, yeah.
In other words,
with
AI. AI, right?
Oh, again?
The portal play made tons of sense 10 years ago, right? And I think if Andy were doing homes the way he's doing them now, 10 years ago, right? Invest in traffic, do your lead, whatever, listing your lead, and then get the agents, the consumers come to your portal. Then maybe there's a struggle and some ramp up. But at some point you get to be this portal, you have this giant revenue, you have all that. Okay, but we're on the eve of the entirety of search experience potentially changing, right? Where no one's going to go to Zillow. No one's going to open a Zillow app, right? They're just going to be like, hey, find me a house that's blah, blah, blah for 3 kids. And then some AI.
London's trying to do that already.
Right? I mean, we're not that far from that. Right?
Yeah, we are. I think the real estate, for lack of a more eloquent way to describe it, real estate porn is a thing, right?
Sure.
People love looking at houses.
Sure.
People love daydream. I think about residential real estate all day, every day. And when Kayla and I go on vacation, we're like, oh, man, this is pretty cool. What's a house cost here, right? Like the voyeuristic nature of residential real estate is deep. People always daydream about moving to the beach, moving to the lake.
Sure.
That isn't going to go away because of AI. Now,
no. Well, what I'm
not saying it's a different type of search experience.
Right. What I mean is, it's instead of you and you and Kayla driving, right, whatever, like, oh, this is beautiful, and then opening a Zillow app or a Homes app, and then doing this. I'm saying it's more like, again, who the hell knows what technology looks like? Is it like, Siri, show me the 20 homes that's the coolest with lake view, and then like boom, 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 boom. I bring this up only because that your listing, what we were talking about is the sell side monetization. It's not going to work. It's listing showcase, right? It is possible that, let's say 2-3 years from now, in that future where there's no more search, it's search done for you by AI.
Sure.
Then maybe there's some room for something like that. Now, having said that, I'm saying it's a little late for Andy today because I'm like, he's spending so much money doing advertising and doing all this stuff.
You really think those guys aren't working on AI right now?
No, I'm saying they are.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm like, why spend all this money trying to build up a portal, right? When really spend the money doing the AI.
I'm saying I don't think it's or, I think it's and.
You think it's and?
Yeah.
Budget is, but
I think it's
you're
both.
probably right.
I mean, Google just had their earnings call and they were talking about how they are implementing AI into their search, and the investors are worried because that's going to eat up a lot of things, right? Because what they're doing is it's like a AI enhanced search, right? Where you type in the question, everybody's seen these, like the answer comes up to you,
Yeah.
right? And what it's doing is that's killing the people that have the AdSense on the websites because they don't have to go to the websites now.
Yeah.
They just find out that thing and without going anywhere. So that there's going to be a balance. I think you're right, Rob. I think there's going to be a balance of what's going to be there versus going to a actual portal or whatever.
Yeah.
Can it just that be in there? But
the AI industry is going to have to.
It's going to be interesting because that's a lot of money, and Google doesn't want to lose that money.
Sure.
Yeah.
Zillow, Homes, or anything doesn't.
Right, and so
anyone who has search, right, as their core business is aggressively trying to figure out AI and how to monetize it.
But I'm saying like the seller monetization fits right into an AI world where you pay to be more often shown by AI. Does that make sense? I could see something like that.
I was surprised at the lack of AI conversation actually at the event.
It's like
Not that it hasn't been
AI
a thing,
fatigue for crying out loud.
Well, and I also think there's a massive recency bias because it's August 1st and August 17th is right in front of us.
I think next year it'll be AI all over the place.
Yeah.
On a positive.
January.
And here's the thing, man. Hopefully we could talk about sex bots and AI at that point because it is
Apologize
clearly.
to the audience for
Why
this.
would you apologize? Like it's such a
to Rob's
legitimate.
crazy podcast. Speaking of next year,
Are you just going to gloss over the other one, huh? Speaking of next year.
Las Vegas. They're moving it from out of Las Vegas into San Diego.
Yeah,
So
that's gonna be great. I can drive there.
fantastic. Big
You could drive
change.
here.
So what do you think? What do we think is going to be the hot topic in San
AI.
Diego? And AI is going to be the
Well, not in San Diego. That's a whole year. I mean, let's talk about what's going to be the hot topic in New York in January, right? AI. I mean, we'll be through a lot of this mess. It'll still be, can you believe, these forms, this form, someone's telling
I don't know. I think it's going to be an unintended consequence of the defaults that we don't know about. That's going to blow everything up.
Yeah.
All right. What do you got?
For January, I think it's that.
That?
Yeah.
I think it's going to be Department of Justice investigation into office exclusives in the clear cooperation policy.
I think that depends on the election, though.
With CIDs issued to lots of real estate brokerages.
Oh, wow.
by January.
I do.
So one level down now, right?
Yeah,
I don't think January.
You don't think so?
No. I think the Department of Justice.
You owe me a stake, so I'll bet one back.
Okay.
We have investigations occur. It's on record.
Okay, it's on record. Cool.
So that
by January. Though.
But there's investigation
That's a
into
bet.
office exclusives, and CIDs have been issued to brokerages who have been promoting that policy internally.
Wait, so what's the bet exactly? The CIDs will be issued, or they've already been
That
issued?
brokerages will be having CIDs issued on them to see what they've been doing with office exclusives.
By January. Yeah, I'll take that bet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, since we're betting, is it like one, or is there some number of them? Is it
Right, there's
happening
gotta
at
be some
scale?
number.
Yeah.
I'm simply saying that I'll say that a couple of brokerages have already had CIDs issued to investigate their policies.
No, you lost, Rob. You owe another stake.
Well, that's what I mean. So it has to be a large number, right?
Yeah.
No, here's why. Because what Greg said is right. Like, we can't forget we're in election year.
Yeah.
And Trump right now is looking like he's going to win.
Depends on the polls you look at, but
Right now it's looking that way. I'm just saying, I don't think the Department of Justice. So I think it happens next year.
To be clear,
I'm just saying by January.
I know what I said. I'm saying by New York that there's CIDs issued. The Department of Justice has opened investigation into office exclusives under CCP, and there will be brokerages that will have CIDs issued to look at what they've been doing with this policy in practice. And also, don't forget that even when there's a change in administration, there's what they call kind of the 2-year hangover of like stuff being moved through different departments. I do not disagree with you that if Trump is elected, that he's going to demolish the Department of Justice.
I'm just saying January. That's
he's going to need to.
Yeah.
So
Well, I'll tell you what I hope, and it's not true, but it's what I hope. And hope is a terrible strategy. But I hope there is serious discussion around the affordability issue for residential real estate.
There has to be.
If you're both right, if there's some unintended consequences that's having a serious impact, and God, if you're right, I hope you're wrong. I've never hoped you've been wrong, because I'm sick and tired of talking about lawsuits and all that bullshit. I want us to get back to we have a huge affordability issue, right?
Dude, it's going to be an election year in November.
Yeah.
I mean, RFK's already put out like the federal government's your rich uncle thing. Mm-hmm. I hate the policy, but at least talking about it, right?
Yeah. I don't. Which he's here, by the way.
I know.
Yeah.
He should be on this podcast.
Yeah, we tried, but he's coming a little bit later.
Yeah, I don't like. What's interesting is we have
Rob's here. Rob's on a list.
Yeah.
It was like, no.
Yeah. They were like, Rob Hahn?
Oh, no.
No, he's on a couple of lists.
In the real estate podcasting world, this is kind of like 60 minutes inside Actor Studio.
It'd be more like
no one wants to go on 60 minutes. Yeah, no one wants to go on 60 minutes.
So RFK at least has put something forward.
Yeah.
I don't think Trump has put anything forward that's really that details are significant. I'm fairly sure.
On housing affordability?
Certainly hasn't,
no.
right?
No one has.
They're not actually putting much of their policy forward intentionally.
Right.
Kind of just...
Right, but at the same time, when you look at sort of voter sentiment, what's going on, especially among the youth vote, like housing is going to be a major issue.
Yep.
So this is all to say I agree with you. I think that's going to be the big topic probably next year.
I hope.
To me, again, everything looks like software to me, right?
Of course.
With affordability and housing, right?
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like a design problem to me, right?
Okay.
And there are many factors to this of like why builders don't want to build affordable homes and everything else, but it just seems like there should be some nationwide kind of thing of like, okay, this is an affordability, this is a moonshot type of thing.
Right.
Is there a way we can do with materials, with something to get the designers out there that really, really think about this, and think of new buildings, think of new ways of using space. Think of rethink what a home means or something.
But they've tried some of those things.
It is a design problem. Like what we have all these factors, and how do we apply these constraints into something we can actually solve this problem with? I mean, I don't know what that is, but
it's probably, and I will not say 100-year mortgage again on the podcast, but there is.
That would be part of a solution. I think
the financial services industry is what is going to hopefully solve the problem.
Can we just start with like 40-year mortgages?
Sure. Look, the first mortgage ever was.
Can we just start with dropping 40% of the price on homes?
Well, I don't prefer that methodology.
Why not?
Obvious
reasons. A lot of people's wealth has just gone kapooey.
Right. Like really, Rob, I know you like doomsday scenarios.
I do.
Yeah. So what happens if property values go down by 40%?
Let's just go back to 2008.
We adjust.
Let's not.
That's your answer?
Yeah.
All right. I think the valid point is trying to figure out some solutions to this issue. But remember, a lot of this is local too. So it's going to come down to local municipalities making some of these changes, environmental laws, making it easier to get permit process. We all know these answers.
Look, you need a national, far-reaching scope solution. And counting on local municipalities with the not in my backyard nature of most folks.
For sure.
Yeah. It's not going to happen. That's why I lean into the financial services industry to find a solution. Because look, if Fannie and Freddie would back something, now suddenly you have whatever the solution is to affordability, if Fannie and Freddie back it, now you have a national solution. You have nothing's guaranteed, but you have a backstop. So you have a secondary mortgage market that's robust, and that you have a place where you can move this paper to, and that allows it to happen at scale and happen with some speed.
But all that does is get the prices keep going up.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. In other words, all you're doing is juicing demand.
Down.
All you're doing is juicing demand, right? 100-year mortgage, Fannie and Freddie. Okay, that's cool, but then home value just keeps skyrocketing, right? So
I was trying to see what the issue.
No. So what I mean is, look, if we're really going to get serious about housing for none of us are experts. Really complicated. I get all that, but even as uninformed or whatever, you can look. It's really two problems, right? One is law, meaning local governments Like the number of builders I've spoken to, because some of them I think, they're like, even if you gave me the land for free, I could not produce affordable housing because of the permits, the laws.
Depends where, but I understand your
so,
point.
Yeah.
Right. So the national solution really, it would be something like a federal ban on all local zoning. Like supremacy clause, we don't give a shit what you say, localities or cities. We're just getting rid of all of your zoning, all of your environmental laws.
But that would still take a long time for the housing supply to get built and
Sure, but that's
provide a solution.
I know, but what I'm saying is from a solution standpoint the government can do, that would be a really significant one thing. Now, politically, is that feasible? No, of course not. There's no chance in hell anything like that's going to happen.
And it wouldn't solve it with any kind of speed. It would take a very long time.
Sure. The second thing, though, is, and this is something I've not been arguing with good-meaning people about, and we brought it up, but we have to at least talk about the demand side.
Sure.
Right? The fact that we have 1.6 million homes built every year and 3 million newcomers into the country. That's a math problem, and people are like, you're anti-immigrant. I am an immigrant. Screw you, right? But it's just a math problem. We got to figure that out. So if we're going to talk about affordability in the short term, we might start there. But something I'm really curious about is, and again, people make this the political thing. No, it's a mathematical thing. By one count, we have 15 million illegals in this country. If they did not exist, what happens to housing affordability? No economist that I know has ever done that math. I would love to know. Right. What happens to median home price? In other words, I get what you're doing.
Yeah, but why try to solve the affordability problem through the demand side of the equation?
Not through the demand, because all of your solutions are juicing demand, making it easier for people to borrow money.
Yeah.
Right. Well, if
making it more affordable for people to borrow.
But prices keep going up.
What is wrong with prices going up?
Yeah,
that makes it less affordable.
That's also how 20 to 25% of our GDP works, is through housing. Like when people buy a house, it juices the entire economy. That's how literally like it goes down the entire
vehicle.
Like I'm just trying to follow like what is that? How is that an issue?
Okay, so I put forth something of like one of the issues.
You're not answering the question though. Like how is that?
No, because GDP, like it's just I don't know, slavery GDP. It doesn't help with affordability. If GDP goes up if investors make shit ton of money and housing is not affordable for anybody. GDP still goes up.
Housing affordability is an issue because of, we're going back to the simple supply and demand part that you're referring to.
No, I think that's one.
I'm not saying that prices should appreciate at the same rate. We should find some sort of lever where it's realistic and it's not so bad. To your point, the financing side, I'm going to use 40-year mortgages because people live longer, so like it's not as much of an issue. But if you add more supply, that appreciation rate slows, but you're not destroying the economy where you're like. If somebody buys a house, it's all the way down the line that it touches all these different parts.
Sure.
And so,
which is why we want more of it.
I just would rather use a scalpel than a hatchet.
Right.
That's my point.
Yeah.
Is I think that they're like.
I guess I don't see the scalpel. All you're doing is making houses more expensive.
Why is that bad?
It's bad because it makes houses less affordable.
No, so by making housing more affordable.
Wait, by making housing more expensive, it makes it more affordable? In what world?
If you can have a financing structure that makes it.
I mean, nobody can put down. I mean, not nobody.
People aren't paying cash for houses.
Putting down $3 million on a house. I mean, there are some people that can do that, but
Some
typically
people, sure, but
it's
I'm
a
not worried
financial
about their
instrument that
affordability.
gets them in there. And what could
For better or worse, the
argue
US
if they're making enough money that they can afford a $3 million house.
So this is the second.
The U.S. homeowner is a down payment buyer.
Okay.
They aren't paying cash for houses.
Okay.
At scale.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So let's solve the down payment and the payment problem. If a byproduct of that is that values go up,
so if you just go to zero down payment and then just give them all the money, print the money, and then just home prices go to 10 million, it doesn't matter because there will be zero down payment. It's a payment thing, right?
it wouldn't if there was more supply in the market.
Agreed, but I'm just
there's
pointing
ways to regulate the appreciation by allowing more properties to come. It's not one solution, right?
Of course not.
Yeah.
So I was going to point to the other aspect of this, though, affordability being two ways. The other way, quite frankly, is Americans have to make more money. Right. So
I'm a fan of that too.
Right. So in other words, if you look at the housing affordability problem, I think it's actually just a money problem. In other words, houses have not become more valuable. Your money has gotten less valuable. And I justify that if you look at the last 30 years or so, home prices are like doing this. Wages, inflation adjusted, are flat. Okay, well, that's something we probably should solve. Now, that's a much bigger thing.
Yeah.
But
You're advocating to increase the minimum wage.
I'm advocating
That's what I
for
heard.
increasing.
That's what I heard. I'm just.
No, actually, I want to destroy the minimum wage because I'm an Austrian.
I'm poking the bear
I
here.
hear you.
like,
Poke away. So, but like this housing affordability, the thing that I guess I'm opposed to just making it easier to finance, which has been NAR's answer forever. Like that doesn't do
That's not fair.
nothing.
That is not fair. They have been advocating to build housing as well.
Okay, you're right.
Yeah.
To be clear,
You're right.
That is not a
You're
fair
right. I
statement.
apologize.
They're trying to
You're
figure
right.
out how to make it affordable for people to be able to get into housing because it's the largest wealth generator in the United States, the end.
Yes.
And at the same time, making it easier for people to
Yes.
build housing. Now, to be clear, there could be lots of other things that we could look at.
Sure.
That's not their job. Their job is to figure out and focus on the issues that they can control, not try to solve every freaking issue possible. They're not going to get involved in immigration. They're not going to get involved in those
think they have
discussions.
to.
Well, they've got a lot of things they got to work through.
I understand.
That's a politician's thing to deal with.
It's the NAR's thing.
Nah, I disagree.
Okay, fine.
What we can disagree on that. Right now, that association
Is it too early for a cocktail?
should have had a cocktail. But they should be focused on the two things where they have the most amount of influence, and that is trying to figure out how to make it so that it's easier to build more housing and also make it easier for people to afford to do it. Now, I don't disagree with you that wages are flat and we have all these other issues, but we also can't try to tackle all of them. And to your point, it's an election year and they're trying to figure out how to balance all of that. It's a process. And, I think we can solve some of these things and they certainly have the political willpower to do some of that. But if we want to...
That's the piece that I'm not as sure. I don't see the political willpower to find solutions. And that's the thing I'm most frustrated by.
Of course.
I don't hear this being talked about very much or very often by any politicians.
But here, so if you do
I was referring to NAR. You're
Got
referring
you.
to
Yeah, I'm referring to the political part. Yeah.
Well,
NAR talks about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to let NAR off the hook as easy as you do on the immigration thing because of the clause in its code of ethics that talks about the nation and its citizens. We'll skip over that. The political will is going to come from the fact that this will become something that politicians cannot ignore.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree. We're just not there
here's
yet.
the unfortunate part of this. If you just look at the political, just landscape, just high level, look at what the Democrats are saying, the Republicans, especially J.D. Vance Republicans are saying, it's very clear to me where that political is going to go. It's going to go to investors. The Elizabeth Warren's attacking like the Wall Street, landlords, and then J.D. Vance talking about we need the working class, and then punish the elites. I'm like, okay, when it comes to housing affordability, sure, we could talk about affordable mortgage, RFK's idea, the rich uncle, all of that. But I'm like, that energy, the channel, in my mind, is going to be, we're going to do something about real estate investors and make it not attractive. To me, that's what I
mean, again, it is the largest creation of wealth for most citizens out there, right? And I think you're not going to want to destroy that. I don't think they want to.
I'm with Greg.
Yeah.
I also don't think that, for what it's worth, the Republicans and Democrats, the reason why we have all of these problems is because both parties are freaking useless.
Amen.
They all play kick the can on everything because it's a political hot potato, no matter which way you go. They say things to get elected and they don't want to touch it. This has been a problem. And there's I'm not referring to immigration, I'm talking about
every problem.
All of these are there.
Yeah.
It's not going to get solved until Americans have some catastrophic thing.
It's not going to get solved until they believe they won't get reelected if they don't start to solve it. And I don't think we're there yet.
Well, let's try to kind of end on some optimism here. If we could go down this row and talk about
this is optimism for him.
Yeah, I'm very optimistic.
this is all in his camp.
When we have the disaster, and then we'll come out the other end.
Good God.
Doomsday prepper.
And in the lobby or in the shows, something. Give us a takeaway from that's on an optimistic note about what you've.
I'll go
seen
first.
Here.
Yeah.
You did an amazing job on stage.
No, thank you. I am optimistic that we are finally almost to August 17th. And all of the bullshit conversations, the prognostications, the hours of podcasts we've all done on this topic, and we can actually just get back to serving the human beings who want to buy and sell houses. And real estate professionals, they're not great at forms. They're not great economists. They aren't going to figure out individually how affordability would happen. But what they are great at is shepherding someone through an incredibly stressful transaction and being there for them in the moment. And that's what we can get back to on the other side of this. And for me, knowing that that is coming and actually starting to hear agents in the room worrying about this stuff, but knowing that they're going to have to worry about it. It's going to be chaos. I get it, but they can just get back to serving the people, which is what they're best in the world at anyway.
Everything he said, I would also add, I think there's tremendous opportunity in this. This industry has been complaining forever about like too many agents, too many unprofessional people, too many associations, too many MLSs. Guess what? That's all going to start to condense. And I think what will end up happening is companies that are really paying attention to where things are going and agents that are looking at this are gonna figure out this new process. I think we're gonna end up being more professional.
Yep.
I think there'll be a lot less people. I think the consumer is going to have more clarity because this forms mess is going to get itself figured out. It's going to go through a lot of pain, but eventually we'll get there. And we're gonna stop putting these stop gaps in place. We're going to actually just get to where this needs to go. And I do think in 12 to 24 months we're going to have a lot more clarity, and I think the industry will be in a better spot. And there'll be some other thing, like there always is. That's just life. Yeah, but sure. I think we will be much further along in a process of professionalizing this business, and people who, to your point, focus on the consumer. This thing I talked about on stage, there's two things consumers want, and he's an exact example of this, right? Convenience and really amazing service. Americans are willing to pay a premium for those two things.
Yep. Absolutely.
Like all day, every day. You get really good at providing a convenience and a level of service that's just beyond what somebody would expect, and they'll pay you a premium. And if we stay focused on that, we're going to be just fine. So.
Agreed. I didn't attend, so I have to go based on LobbyCon.
Yeah.
I think what gives me optimism is everything you guys both just said, but the specific for me is I think over the next, we'll call it 24 months, right? So that's just within the realm of like science fiction. I think we were going to remove one of the biggest albatrosses, the millstones around the industry's neck, which is the Realtor Association. I don't see how they survive. I think the MLS has tremendous value.
This is the optimism.
Yes, this is Nara's version of, your version of optimism.
No, because I think if you got rid of some of the bullshit that those guys have been doing.
This is why he
I love you, Ross.
Dude, like,
I love you.
You just talked about we're going to have higher professionals, we're going to have brokers. Like, yeah, because once you get rid of the Realtor Association from that, I think it makes it a lot more possible.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's my optimism.
My optimism would be, I'm really excited about seeing these new vendors come on, right? There's two of them here on the stage right now. The solutions and the way they're looking at the existing problems and looking towards the future is just so fresh. I was like, for a long time there, I thought there was a dearth in like new ideas
creativity.
or really people, right? But some of the young founders and other founders that I'm meeting are just, it's amazing.
Smart.
And I feel it makes me feel good as somebody who's done this for 30 years of seeing this next wave coming in. And I think, as you said, there's opportunity here.
That's right.
And I get to meet with these guys, I get to talk to them, and I just get excited every day when I'm talking to, and I hope they crush it. I hope they kill it, because I know I started W&R with Dan in 2008. So it feels a little bit like that kind of thing there, right? It's, you're going to be rising up with everything else.
Well,
I'm really optimistic about the guys.
As well. Like you get to give them some of your wisdom in this crazy industry that we're all involved in and help them through it.
Can I give one public service announcement for the industry really quick?
Yeah. Let's end on that.
Okay. The industry is at peak distraction at exactly the wrong time. What I mean by that is interest rates are trending in the right direction. The form stuff is working its way through. We had a summer, which is usually a peak, depending on your local market, but summer's usually the peak, and June and July were not great, right? Interest rates coming down. Yeah, we can get refocused on the client. There is an opportunity now to make your year and set up 2025. Basically, I think August 1st to Halloween, you will make your 2024 and set up your 2025. And if you get wildly distracted with all of the discussion on forms, and if you miss this boat, because for the first time in our careers, we're going to have interest rates with downward pressure. The unlock effect will happen with sellers. You're going to have more sellers coming into the market and more buyers. We always have buyers come in when rates go down. Sellers are now going to come in at...
They already are too.
Correct.
Yeah.
And if the industry misses it because we're obsessing about the forms process and we are wildly distracted because of all the noise in the industry, you will not have the 2024 you could have had, and you're going to get your ass kicked in 2025. So while it is important that we pay attention to these things, don't lose sight of the fact that this year is being made in the next 90 days, and it's setting up your 2025.
I love it. I think we'll end on that.
I think we're going to end on congratulations again in advance for the victory.
We don't
know
anything about anything.
But hey, if this congratulations, like if this comes with cash, hand it over. I'll take it.
With that being said,
cool. That's cool.
Fun.
Collab.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for putting this together.
Thanks, boys.
Everybody enjoyed that. We'll see you guys all on the next
Thank y'all.
podcast.
Yep.
We need you to subscribe to this podcast because you need us to keep saying the things that nobody else will say out loud.